Welcome to the JAMODI podcast. We are all surrounded by amazing coaches and leaders. So let's get an inside look at not just what they do, but how they do what they do. After all, becoming the best versions of ourselves is JAMODI, just a matter of doing it. Coaches, the JAMODI podcast is sponsored by 3on3 Hoops Hub. 3on3 Hoops Hub has run over 350 3on3 basketball leagues for kids since 1997. 3on3 is the ideal format for players to get a lot of opportunities, work on all skills and positions, and have fun with their friends. Whether you want to build your program, raise some funds, or start your own business, you can bring 3on3 to your community and do it like an expert by learning from the best with 3on3 Hoops Hub's free 90-minute training. You can register at the link in the show notes. I've already gone through how well I feel like I know you, even though I'll know you better after this talk. But being you mentioned this intentionality. You've said that multiple times. What ways or what are your daily habits that set you up for success?
Me personally?
Yes.
Number one is being able to, the best I can, is being able to be just as good of a dad as I am as a coach and a husband as I am as a coach. That's super important to me. And I think if I ever get to a point where I can't do that, then I'm going to find something else to do or find another path to go on, because it's, as much as I love basketball, coaching and teaching, it's not worth, we already give a lot of sacrifices with our family, right? With the games and for us to travel and the season, to do it more is just, to me, it doesn't make a lot of sense. My family's number one. So I try to create a schedule, and I kind of have my way that I, go about it, but I try to create a schedule that's going to allow me to be present with my kids, 4-year-old daughter, 1-year-old son, as much as I can when I'm home. And then when I'm not home or they're asleep, that's when I do my work. And so for me, recently, my habits have been, I just started listening to the reading of the Bible every morning. I haven't been reading it. I've been listening to it, which has been really interesting and it's been really cool. So on my way to work, I listen to it.
Do you use the Bible app?
No, I actually listen to a podcast. I'm not Catholic, but it's by a Catholic priest.
I know who you're talking about.
Father Mike.
Yeah. His voice, man.
He's great.
And then he has really good feedback and breakdown commentary.
That's so good. So that's what. So I wake up, and for me, sleep is also very important. I think sleep is. I listened to a podcast by the sleep expert that pretty much said, if you're not sleeping enough, if you're not sleeping, 7 to 8 hours a night, you're literally killing yourself.
You'll live 5 to 10 years less. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah.
Yes. So sleep is important. So I pretty much set my alarm for 7 to 8 hours after whatever time I go to sleep. And so I get that sleep. Sometimes I wake up early. If there was no game the night before, I wake up early and I go into the office because it's quiet and I can get some work done. But so I wake up early. I'll go to I listen to the Bible on the way in. I'll get to my desk and I'll start my work, whatever my film is. Preparing for the next opponent, which is a big part of my job, my role here. And then usually by that time, we either have some meetings or some type of discussions to get ready for practice. Go out to the practice court. And that's how I prepare my drills if I have any that day. Then we'll go out to the practice court and practice. And, for us, the day is usually over by 2:00 in the afternoon. And so I'm able to come home, spend time with the kids. And then if there's any work that I have to do, after dinner, after the kids go to bed, then I do that. So that's a, non-game day when I'm at home. And it looks pretty similar on the road, and game days are pretty similar as well.
You mentioned, basically keeping the main thing. And the moment that you feel like you're not, like you kind of lost it, right? Like you got to redirect. I'm going through Ecclesiastes right now. And so you got Solomon here, the richest, wisest dude in the world, basically talking about how everything that he's strived for, what the people strive for, these earthly successes, he says it's all vanity. Mm-hmm. Like it's not anything that will matter, in the long run. But then there's that other side of that, of being excellent with what you do? What's that balance of striving for success and climbing a ladder, but then also keeping the main thing the main thing? How hard is that?
Yeah, it's difficult. It's been difficult for me, and I think even some people perceive me as like this ultimate like ladder climber. Like I'm always trying to like get to the next thing, move, because I've had a lot of jobs, and I've been I've coached at every level. And I think early on in my career, I've been coaching. This is my 10th year. I just finished my 10th year coaching. Early on in my career, that was definitely the deal. Like I was just like, I gotta get
kids.
Yeah, pre-kids. I was just trying to get there, And listen, my ultimate goal is to be a head coach. But I don't go around every day talking about like I can't wait to be a head coach soon. And to me, it's about daily habits and trying to get better. And whatever that means for that time in that season. Sometimes that's like getting better X's and O's wise. Sometimes that's reading about leadership or culture or teaching. Sometimes that's like just trying to figure out how to help the players get better, how to help the players I'm working with get better. And so for me, ultimately, it's about how can I grow the most and get better. And, I'm a person of faith. And so to achieve and want to achieve is about using the gifts that I believe that God has given me to further his kingdom ultimately. Right. And so, if I can make it not about me, and the same thing for my family. Like I love working hard, and we're a basketball family, but I love working hard and doing the best I can for my wife and my kids, and that's important to me. And so there are times where I make it about me because I'm not perfect, and I'm like, I want to work hard because I want people to know how hard I work and how good I possibly can be. And so that definitely creeps in, but that's not the ultimate thing. The ultimate thing is to grow as much as I can, and then use the gifts that I've been given, to make the Lord known, and to do the best for my family and whatever team I'm a part of. That's all that matters to me.
I think ultimately it's being the best at where you're at, and when people do that, they typically do. Like I would never have thought you as a person that's just climbing, but the gifts that you've been given and how hard you work and the value that you bring, it's amazing how doors open up when you do that. No but question. Then when you are a believer, I think your why is it's just at a different level than just success. But my point to saying that is you're probably around 10 years younger than me, or close to that, and you're an NBA assistant coach. Like it's incredible what you've done. I'm 40 years old, and I'm the head coach at Grapevine Faith Christian School. We have 350 kids, but I've never felt called or led to do anything else. Not that I'm not open to it. I've just never felt it. So, my pastor said this a few weeks ago. Maybe like there are coaches out here that are listening to this that are at a smaller school or at a job where there's not that much notoriety in it, or maybe we're called to be exactly where we are. And that's where it goes back to be the best at where you are. And then in your case, man, I do, just from knowing of you and knowing some of your habits, even in 30 minutes of talking with you, like there's something different, something special. But I don't know, just some thoughts I had while you're talking.
Yeah, no, I get asked all the time by people who want to get to this level, or, want to get to a high level in college basketball, about like, how do I do it? Or can you help me? Or, all those things. And what's happened for me is, if we're being completely honest,
let's do that.
I went to Butler, right? I played for Brad Stevens. And I was fortunate to have a good career and be on a really good team. And I tried to be the best leader I could. I tried to be a great person in the community. And I do think that people recognize that in me. And so I was fortunate to get a head coaching job in high school right after I graduated. And then I went and took a college job at the University of South Alabama with Matthew Greggs, who was an assistant when I played at Butler. He got the head coaching job, asked me to come with him. And then 3 months into that, Brad Stevens left the Butler to go to the Celtics. And so without Brad going from Butler to the Celtics, my NBA career and where I'm sitting right now, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I think it's very unlikely. My path would look a lot different. And so for me, without that foot in the door, I'm not sitting where I am. Right.
Yeah.
And so to be in that organization and then get to know some people in the NBA. And again, my first year, there's a really good friend of mine now that told me my first full year in the NBA, he's like, you're not working hard enough. And he was correct. He was 100% correct. You're not working hard enough. This isn't what it's about. You're just kind of living the NBA life and enjoying being in the NBA. This is about work. To stay around the NBA, you got to work. Mm-hmm. And I really took that and I applied that, right? And I just tried to work as hard as I could. And I think people saw that. And so I've been able to make other connections that got me the opportunity to be a G League head coach. And then a guy that was there in Brooklyn knew the coach of Charlotte. And when the coach of Charlotte got the job, he allowed me to go there, right? There was a connection with Coach Carlisle. And so when Coach Carlisle got this job, he like, without that, none of this is possible. I could be the greatest coach in the world, but without those connections to get me to where I am, none of this is possible. And so I tell anybody that asks, how do I do it? How do I get there? It is important that you do the best job you can right where you're sitting right now, because the people that you're around every day are the people that can speak to your ability to do whatever the next job is better than anyone else. And so I tell people, there's a kid that I coached when I was coaching high school that is coaching college. He's trying to, move up as he should. And he wants to see if I can help. And I said, I'm more than happy to help you, but I don't talk to you all the time. I have not worked with you since you were a ninth grader and I was coaching you. So I can't lend as much as your head coach that you work with currently there can. And so if we're always thinking about what's next, and we're not putting it just like I was my first 4 year with the Celtics, we're not putting the time in and the work in, then it's going to be hard for other people to vouch for our ability to move up. And so that's for any young coaches or high school coaches or, middle school coaches that want to achieve or want to, get to college or get to the NBA, do the best job you can where you are, because those people can help you out more than anybody else can.
And, you did have some incredible experiences, and it's not luck. I mean, you and I know it's not luck.
Right.
The situation that you were in college, who you're able to work for, and then what he saw. But so you've had some of these gifts, but your character is what allowed you to actually maximize those gifts. I'm thinking back to my experience at Baylor and the bad habits that my senior year, I played for Coach Drew his first year at Baylor. We only had 6 scholarship players after everything bad that happened there. I was one of those groups. In some anger and resentment and bitterness, acquired really bad habits that it was basically just poor character. If I would have been catapulted to a position too early in a time or a place where my character wouldn't have allowed me, I would have failed. If I would have been a GA there, or if I would have come back home and been a head coach right after that, I mean, my 20s were a train wreck. And so a part of the brilliance in your story is not just this accelerated path that you were on, but the fact that your character allowed you to be successful, because your story isn't the one that we hear very much. The story we hear or we see movies on, or are these companies or these churches that have the big time CEO, charismatic, but the character of that individual doesn't match up with the level of opportunity that they've been given, and they fall. So I think it's really cool to see it all work out for you. But man, a little bit of your experience and those opportunities, but your character is impressive.
I appreciate you saying that. Yeah, I was thinking about that. Just the charismatic leaders that we've seen kind of have too much too soon. And there's a woman on our staff. She's actually she has a great connection with PGC, Jenny Busek. She tells me all the time, you don't want to get a head coaching job before you're ready. God's going to put you there when it is your time. If you get one before you're ready, it's not going to go well. And that's a constant. It's good. I'm thankful that she's here. It's a constant reminder for me, but it is so true, because we see that all the time, and it's, it makes for interesting stories to listen to and to learn from. But I don't think you want to live it out.
Well, it's so much better to learn from others' mistakes. Thank you for checking out today's episode. Please take a moment to subscribe to this podcast, share it with your fellow coaches, and find us on social media for what's coming up next on the JAMODI podcast. It's just a matter of doing it.